Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, it's a real privilege to be here today. First of all, I should warn you that there are some distressing photos and videos from some of my cruelty cases that I've dealt with, but unfortunately that is a reality of what we're dealing with. If possible, RSPCA inspectors will try and work with animal owners first to resolve animal welfare problems, and this is before any possible prosecution may take place. RSPCA inspectors do not have any statutory powers. We work with the police who do have powers. I work within the Special Operations Unit, SOU, and we investigate serious, organised and commercial animal cruelty. And this will include dog fighting, cockfighting, badger baiting, wild bird trapping, and also multi-animal cases. I organise the RSPCA police-led pre-arranged warrants, often simultaneous at multiple addresses or locations where animal cruelty is believed to be taking place. So I'm going to talk through the process of how we organise this for an equine case. Information is received by the RSPCA from members of the public, the police, or other charities. And cruelty needs to be reported to us so we have a complete picture of the situation, and then we can decide how best to act. Is this an advice type call, or is the information that there's a large-scale animal suffering and or neglect? Sometimes it's immediately obvious there's a problem. This was actually a registered charity, and we removed over 100 animals from appalling conditions, and horses were just roaming amongst the kennels, vehicles and rubbish. Everything we do must be within the law. The legislation that mainly covers the offences we deal with is the Animal Welfare Act 2006. The police, court and RSPCA take entry into other people's land extremely seriously. In the majority of cases, we will work with the horse owner to resolve the issue. Warrants may be obtained by the police and through the court if necessary, although this is a last resort. National Equine Welfare Council charities regularly work together on these complex cases and all have slightly different roles, which is essential. For one organisation to take on what is required in these operations would be impossible. So to share the costs, resources and expertise makes a lot of sense. And assistance is really important. 12 years ago, on a freezing Friday afternoon, I walked into a farm where 147 horses were kept. 32 of these were already dead, and they were kept in the most unbelievable conditions. RSPCA inspectors came to assist me. The Horse Trust took in 15 of the most emaciated horses that night. World Horse Welfare sent an officer to come and help me, and a phone call I won't forget was to Red Wings Horse Sanctuary. They said they'd send 30 experienced staff, 2 lorries, 2 vets and equipment within 24 hours, and I will always be grateful for the other charities' help. Before a pre-planned operation, we always have a written operation order and briefing so that everyone is clear on the plan and their roles on the day. And a briefing will be attended by all those involved: police, RSPCA inspectors, trading standards, the other equine charities, vets, which would be equine or small animal, possibly farm animal, and maybe a press officer from the police or RSPCA. The NUC charities often very kindly offer transport, but we regularly also need to pay private hauliers who may need to be paid whether we remove animals or not. And we have to consider how many hours driving the lorry drivers may need to drive and whether an overnight stop is necessary. Staff on these operations may require accommodation too. Some of them are coming from long distances. Practicalities of access need to be considered, as sometimes they can be very challenging. The logistics of moving many animals, often that haven't been handled safely, can be very difficult. This Hackney pony was kept in a filthy, dilapidated, homemade structure, and we had to break down the sides to gain entry. We removed him and several others from these appalling conditions, and the owners were subsequently prosecuted for Animal Welfare Act offences Following a trial, they were found guilty. Horses are triaged to assess which horses may need urgent medical attention first. This poor gelding I found in a pen, filthy pen, with 20 other horses. He was desperately trying to get up. He was rubbing a large sore on his side against the trough next to him. Photographs and videos of the whole location are taken, and these must be positive and negative aspects of the animals and their environment so that we provide a balanced view. And we'll do a scene plan to show the location of the animals, water and food and shelter. Catching horses, well, this can be tricky. Some of the charities have these pen sections in a set, which make it much safer. And we work out how many sets we may need and which one is most convenient to bring, depending on the location and which charities are attending. They take some time to set up and organise, but once they are set up, catching, examining and loading becomes a whole lot easier. All horses are identified with exhibit numbers, and this will be sprayed on, easier said than done sometimes, and a tag is put onto their head collar with their number. If the horses have been taken into possession or been signed over by the owner, we will also microchip them if they aren't already microchipped, and we do find that a lot of the horses we removed are not chipped. We make meticulous notes of what is found, and the vets at the location will normally have somebody scribing for them, and that's normally an RSPCA or World Horse Welfare officer. A full clinical examination is done on each animal, and we'll gain as much information as possible, and often bloods and fecal samples will be taken on site. The police can take horses into their possession under the Animal Welfare Act if a veterinary surgeon signs a certificate such as this. I appreciate you can't probably read the text, but it relates specifically to the condition of the animal. This also gives the police officer the power to authorise euthanasia of an animal if a vet states the condition of an animal is such that it's in its own interest to be destroyed. If this is not done lawfully, this can affect any case. Post-mortems are done by a pathologist, so often we need a knacker man to attend to move any dead horses. The horse on the left was just simply starved to death and had string in his stomach. And then the horse on the right was too decomposed to know why he died, but he had a rope round his back leg where he'd been dragged out of the way. Phones, media and paperwork may have been removed by the police, and they need to be analysed. Passports and paperwork relating to animals need photographing and documenting. The RSPCA will interview suspects. Sometimes they've been arrested, or this may take place voluntarily at a later stage. Police helicopter or drone footage can be very useful. This was actually taken after we'd removed all the animals, but I was able to use this photo in court to show the size of the premises and also where all the animals were located. The press are often interested in these cases. The photo on the left is a screenshot from a live broadcast from one of 2 national press helicopters which were flying over us while we were removing horses. We had no notification of this, and the other photo was outside court. Social media, as mentioned earlier, can be extremely challenging to deal with, and we're very restricted to what we can say because of ongoing court cases. Staff also have to consider their safety, and inspectors have had their tyres slashed and received verbal and physical abuse. Aftercare of equines is obviously extremely important, and the left-hand photo is Red Wings Horse Sanctuary unloading some of my case horses. And I'll keep in regular contact with the other charities or private livery yards that we use to look after our horses. When they're in our care, they'll obviously be weighed regularly, like the photo on the right-hand side. We ensure any treatment is documented. This horse Noddy was photographed, had his hoofs measured and x-rayed. I found him and 2 other stallions in the dilapidated barn behind him. He's videoed here at the vet's walking, and you can see the effect his overgrown hooves were having on his gait. Him and his 2 friends that he was with were nearly touching the ceiling of the dilapidated barn we found him in. It was absolutely pitiful, and a sight none of us will forget. But here he is after he'd been x-rayed and trimmed, and he's getting used to his new hoof length. He's now gone to the Horse Trust. He's only 13-1, and he lives with a group of retired police horses, and is now getting on really well. We take before and after photos of all the horses, particularly in weight loss cases, and the horse at the top, Blakey, is at World Horse Welfare, and then the chestnut at the bottom was taken to the RSPCA, and he's since been rehomed and used as a riding horse. A huge amount of work goes into any large investigation. Taking owners to court is not taken lightly, and it must be in the public's interest. The RSPCA's Prosecution Department decides whether this will happen. It must reach the evidential and public interest test, and we use external solicitors and barristers. On a much happier note, here is Sunday, RSPCA Sunday. She won Equifest Rescue Horse of the Year in 2012, 4 years after I removed her. And this is Bert. He's one of my case horses that Red Wings rehomed, and he joined the Norfolk Police Mounted section. And many more successful outcomes. The top right-hand photo is some of the horses at the Horse Trust, and the rest of them are in the RSPCA, or were in the RSPCA, and they've now all gone on to be rehomed. The top right-hand horse, Star, he is still at the Horse Trust. He's broken to drive, and he now does weddings, and I have had a go one day in the back of his cart. All new charities want to work together, and we're definitely stronger, and all want to see a reduction in the horrific cases we're sadly seeing. I hope this explains some of the work we do, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.